This weekend, the thing that everybody on Twitter and on the internet were talking about was Hamilton, this Broadway play that was a massive, massive hit, and it dropped on Disney Plus, a filmed version of the play. And I've had a nonstop stream of people tweeting at me, direct messaging me on Instagram, and leaving comments asking me, what did I think about Hamilton? Did I watch it? I have watched it. It took me 2 different sittings because it's 3 hours long. But after 2 different sittings, I finally finished it last night. And I wish I had something more insightful or useful to say about Hamilton, but I'm just not a Broadway musical kind of guy. I couldn't tell you what my favorite one is. I can respect the art that goes into this kind of thing. I can see watching it wow, that was very clever, the way that they were able to rhyme those words while telling American history and being funny at the same time. I can watch all of that and respect it. But am I on the train of people that are like, I can't stop thinking about Hamilton? That's just not me. I'm just not that person. So I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I've experienced it one time. It's not one that I'm thinking I'm going to be rewatching anytime soon. I think on a story level, it did a really nice job of covering years and years of history and having emotional ups and downs, having our heroes that have faults, complex characters where it's not as simple as good guy, bad guy. You can see jealousy rising up. I can appreciate all of that. There are some really cool musical segments in it. But at the end of the day, is this something that I plan on re-exploring a bunch of times? I really don't. That's not specific to Hamilton. That's just in general. This is not something I would naturally gravitate towards. I don't put on Phantom of the Opera a bunch. I don't put on Les Mis a bunch in my house. There's not a Broadway musical that is the one that I'm super duper into and have on loop. And Hamilton just falls into that category once again of that was really good. I'm glad I experienced that once. I'm glad I can have a conversation with someone about it. But I'm just not the target audience for it. Rachel, however, I think you have a different experience with it. And you've actually seen it live. I saw Les Mis on Broadway back in 1995. That's my Broadway story. Okay. As a child that had no idea what Les Mis was, but we were there and my sister knew about that stuff. And so I saw Les Mis. So that's my Broadway story. That's the one that I'm biased towards because I have actually seen it on Broadway. But anyway, tell us, what did you think about Hamilton?
Yeah, so I saw the touring company in 2018 here in Utah, and I loved it. And I was nervous about it because I'd spent quite a bit on my ticket, and I thought, oh, is this gonna be overhyped? But I just thought what it does so brilliantly, I think, is that it mixes this hip hop stylings with traditional Broadway stylings, so that it makes it feel so fresh and different than any other Broadway show. And not only obviously the casting is different than you are expecting, the storytelling, that it's taking on history. It's just, there's so many things about it that are so different than anything we'd ever seen before on Broadway. And it was such kismet, I thought, that they ended up releasing this the week that they announced that Broadway was going to be closed for the whole year. So people there, big Show Tunes fans were feeling very sad. I was feeling very sad about that. I mean, just all the people with their jobs and so many, it's just such a traumatic thing to think of Broadway being closed for the whole year. And so to have kind of this gift from Broadway, I don't know, I just felt like that was really amazing. And so I loved it. I thought it was great. I thought they did a very good job in the staging of the musical, the times when they decided to do close-ups, times when they decided to kind of give you the experience of the audience, and it was a different experience obviously than what you get when you're watching it live, and it was fun to see the original cast. To see Lin-Manuel and see Daveed Diggs, I think was probably the star, especially as Jefferson. I thought he was so funny, and I think it's a pretty funny show. It's a heartwarming show at times. It's a thoughtful show at times. It really manages to do a lot of different things within this one show. And I know some people are, kind of about its historical representation, but I think they did Lin-Manuel came out, I think yesterday, and said, we did the best we could. And I think they did. And so I really, really enjoyed it. And at the very least, I think it's something different, something new that we haven't seen since Newsies was the last one that got this kind of treatment as far as a Broadway show, and that got released into theaters. And the Broadway version of Newsies got a pretty theatrical release. And so as somebody who's a huge Broadway fan, it was really cool to see. And it's just cool that so many people that could never have afforded the ticket prices that are getting a chance to see Hamilton getting exposed to the arts, because I'm really worried about the arts right now.
Right. When it's kind of to what you mentioned before of like the timing of all of this, when they decided to kind of announce it, have it, it is this time where you kind of fear for some of these things. For very obvious reasons, that this is a way to expose more people to it. And that's what kind of everything you mentioned in there. I hear what you're saying and I go, yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd agree with all of that. And that's why I even struggled. Like, how would I didn't want to do a full review on my channel because I just don't know how to review something where I'm in no way criticizing it. Like, it's not like I watch it like, oh, here's my problems with it. Here's why I didn't love it. It's not that at all. It's not that everything starts up from a 100. And as you notice problems with it, you kind of tick it down. There's things that just don't. We're just not all wired the same way. We don't all connect with the same things. And that's where, like, for me, I feel weird discussing certain things like this, where it's like, it's just not my thing. It's just not my genre. But I can fully be like, yeah, this is having grown up with a sister that had Broadway musicals on all the time and a wife that has Newsies on all the time. I can fully appreciate like the very interesting blend of classic Broadway hip hop influence and then being funny. And then the next scene, it's like really heartfelt and it touches on a lot of different things. I can respect all of that and at the same time be like, not for me. One analogy I've been thinking about a lot recently is it's kind of like if someone takes you out to have a new kind of food and they bring it to you and it's just not for you. Like Thai cuisine, Indian cuisine, maybe it's just not for you. That doesn't mean they cooked it wrong. That doesn't mean they did anything wrong. It's just not a thing that you like.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying a little bit with Bad Boys, the Bad Boys movie. Like I could see it was a good film. Like it was well done. It's just not, that's just not something I enjoy in general, is that kind of film. I think they did a good job. And those kind of reviews are really, and sometimes I'll just abstain from posting a review or from reviewing it because I just don't feel like, I don't know. I just don't feel qualified really to post a review on that kind of thing. Sometimes I have to, and then I have to be as fair and honest as I can. But yeah, I don't know. That's the thing. And at least I think it's worth, I would encourage people, even if you're not a musical person like yourself, I would encourage people to at least give it a shot. Right. Because I think it's important to get exposed to those things and to get out of your comfort zone from time to time.
I would totally agree. But to that point, I tried to expose my daughter to Hamilton and get her to be more cultured into the arts so she's not an uneducated Philistine. And so I put on Hamilton. We get like 5 minutes in. She goes, when is the play going to change? How long is it going to be just like this? Are they going to go anywhere else? We get like 10 minutes in. She goes, I think there's too much play in this play. Like, I like the music, but I don't like the play. When is it going to stop being like this? I was like, okay, you're not wrong. There is a lot of play in this play, but this is what a Broadway music is.
It does have some adult themes.
Yeah. They
did censor the profanity in the Disney version, but just so people know, it's got infidelity and other things like that are discussed, murder, duels.
I was hoping to teach her about infidelity. And like that. It was like the perfect opportunity to have that conversation with her is what I was thinking.